been watching this channel for a while, then you know that I very rarely buy figures at full price. I wait till they go on clearance, unless I really, really want them. Then I'll get them straight away, like Cyborg Superman or something like that. I'll buy that at full price. But most of the time I get my custom fodder on clearance, you know, for $5 or whatever. Well, I found this Spawn today. He's brand new. I paid full price for him because this is a cool Spawn. The other cool thing about this Spawn is that it came with a whole bunch of guns. And we know that like with the McFarlane DC stuff, you don't get any guns. So this is gonna be, I'm gonna have him hold some, but man, this is gonna be really cool to be able to have a bunch of guns to put with other characters. And what we're gonna do with him today is we're gonna make him a classic Spawn. So we're gonna add the red in here. There's not gonna be a lot to this guy, but I was disappointed with the cape when I pulled it out. It was not as big as I wanted. So I've got some fabric here and we are gonna make him a big, massive Spawn cape. And I am so excited to do this. We're gonna sew in the pleats, we're gonna add some wires. We're gonna really make it just awesome. So let's dive right in. The first thing we're gonna concentrate on is the thing that's exciting me the most, which is the new cape. So I'm just gonna kind of sketch it out with pencil. I don't even know if the pencil's gonna show up. I guess it shows up a little bit. I want this cape to be very large. So I'm just gonna kind of go up, kind of like this. Now the great thing about Spawn's cape is that it's very tattered, and so I don't need to get anything like really perfect on it. So I'm just gonna kind of go through with the scissors, and I'm just gonna kind of cut where I want it to be more or less. So this is gonna be a really big cape. We're just gonna kind of get the shape first. And I gotta make sure that I get enough space so that I can add the pleats and stuff and the wire up here for Elise. Because my daughter, who you haven't seen in a while, because I haven't had anybody do a cape, she's going to do the cape for us. So I'm gonna get cutting and then she will get sewing. So what I've done basically, I've just cut a giant Batman sign. And I'm gonna let Elise play around with it first before we do anything. And then I'll trim things up and add that. But this is a good base shape for right now. Elise is doing her thing right now with the cape. While Elise is working on the cape, I'm gonna start painting in here for the red. Now the red on Spawn in here was always a very muted red. So what I'm doing is I'm actually taking my metallic red, which you guys know I don't necessarily care for, but it spreads around so much that I think it's gonna give us the nice muted color that I want. So I'm just gonna move it around, and that's gonna be my base coat. And I think it's actually gonna work pretty well because I don't want it to be that, you know, a really stark red. I want it to be a lighter muted red. And see, I think that's working. I think that's gonna give us what we're after. So I'll just go through both sides and start filling it in. That'll be the biggest thing we really do to this guy other than a few details. What I've done is I've removed the arms so I can get you know, sometimes I don't take the figures apart, but when you can and it's easy, do it. I'm taking my Model Air red now, and I'm gonna go over the top of this red, and I'm gonna move it around. So I'm getting very little on there because I still want it to be muted. I don't want it to be like a really bright red. And if I move this paint around, then that's what it'll give me. So I'm just gonna go through over the top here with that Model Air red, and that should get me exactly what I want out of this figure. And as you can see, since I'm going really thin, the metallic is going to stand out underneath even more than it usually does, which will give him a really cool look in my opinion. Now you can go with a standard red base if you want. I like playing around with these metallics because it just gives you a different feel for your figure. Something a little bit more fun. But man, that guy's looking great. Look at that. That is awesome. Can't wait to get the cape on this guy. Elise is taking her sweet time, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take a little bit of gunmetal gray and I'm going to hit some of these details just to add a little bit of life to the figure. I'm also going to hit a little bit on the skull and chains and stuff, and I'm going to go over with a lighter silver to really give it some personality. But that's all I'm going to do. It's going to be nice and quick. Make this guy look that much more cool. And while I got the gunmetal gray out, I'm just gonna hit the bandolier here and just hit these edges. It'll just give it a little bit of metallics and make it stand out on this chest. No other reason. One thing I've decided to do, even though he's all this like dark gray, I'm gonna put a little bit of wash in here in like, because he's got kind of a muscle look, right? And I'm gonna wipe it with toilet paper. And I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit more definition inside the cracks here and give him a little bit more life than he's currently got. So I'm not sure if it'll work or if it'll even be noticeable, but I think it's worth giving a try and seeing what we kind of get. Yeah, not sure if it's working, but I'll play around with it. Now I'm gonna hit the ends of these spikes and stuff with some silver to make them stand out more. I'll do the same thing to the skull over here and to some of these other just details so that they are a little bit more noticeable. Just got very little bit of gray on the brush and I'm just dry brushing it on, hitting some of these areas. The wash didn't do anything. It matched too well. But with this, I'm able to hit some of these areas that are raised. And it's not taken much at all. I barely put any on. And it's adding a little bit of contrast, so I'm liking it. So we got the cape, and once I get it in place, we'll trim off down here and get it in the shape. But I decided to do something else. I got this chain at Hobby Lobby. We're gonna cut off these chains. We're gonna put real chains, and that way I can put a real chain in between here. I think this is gonna look absolutely incredible, so let's do it. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm just gonna cut these off because I wanna get the lengths right for these new chains. So just with an X-Acto knife, they come off nice and easy. And I'll keep this obviously because that's what everything's gonna get glued to. So just trim them off and go from there. And here we go, just kind of getting more or less the length right in here. And I'm just gonna take some needle nose pliers and snip. There we go. All right, hopefully this is gonna work. I'm using some resin and I'm gonna spray it now and hopefully this holds because that was a little bit of a pain. I'm not gonna lie, that was not fun and I still have to do it to the other side. So keep your fingers crossed that this works. Right now I'm just experimenting with the cape. The chains are all in place down here. I'm trying to see if I can loop this in here on some of the wires and then wire it around here so I don't have to glue anything. It's gonna take me a little bit of figuring out, so I'm gonna do that off camera because I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I just wanted to kind of give you a thought of what I'm thinking about doing. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take the skulls from this old cape and I'm gonna cut them off and we're gonna glue them to the new one to cover up where we've got some of the points, and then we should be just about done. I'm gonna trim up the cape with some scissors, make it tattered, but I think we're getting pretty dang close. There we go. A much better spawn, in my opinion. The cape turned out pretty good. I wish I had been in there with Elise when she was sewing the stuff because I was actually doing something in here. And so she cut down the wires that were in here. And so one of these kind of flops a little bit. But overall, his cape turned out really great, especially for display. For a display, this guy's gonna look absolutely amazing with this big billowy cape with the chains. This is a great spawn. Really happy with it. Thank you all for watching. Check out StephenHuman.com and Quimbleys.com. I am an author. I write sci-fi thrillers, so check them out. You guys will enjoy them. I just published a new D&D campaign book based on my own campaigns with my friends. It's pretty awesome. Check it out. I'll see you guys in a few weeks.